we talk about all things midlife. And today I'm so excited to have Aline Paredes, nurse practitioner, that she focuses on mental health services through Thrive Well Health. This is her telemedicine company. We are so happy that you are here, Aline. So I want to
Thank
dive
you.
right into this because the topic that we're talking about today is a topic that every single person needs to hear about, including myself. So, Aline, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Martha. I'm so excited to be doing this. This is my first one, so I'm extra excited. So, yes, I am a board certified psychiatric nurse practitioner for the last 8 years, but I have been in the mental health field total of 20 years next year. So that has mental health has always been my passion. And so that's, in all my years in the medical field, that's what I've dedicated myself to.
I love that. And I can imagine what you've seen along, the 20 years with the changes in our society and all kinds of things. Here
Mhm.
at Midlife Madness, this is the podcast. We talk
Love it.
very real and very raw.
I love
Okay.
it. And I love that so much, the very real part, because this is what I tell patients day in and day out is that I'm a very transparent and very no nonsense provider. And I think people appreciate that.
So tell me, like in the last 20 years, what are these like, what have you seen? What are the changes or the challenges or the things that have like gradually gotten worse in our society when it comes to like anxiety and stress? Because
Mhm.
it seems like the word anxiety is just all over compared to 10 years ago. Can
Yeah.
you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So definite major shifts, right? I've seen over the last several years, I've done the hospitals and, I've done outpatient care and now transitioned to just solely telemedicine. But the one aspect in our society that I have seen the biggest shift in has been the inability of people to cope with stressors, with life. Um, and I see this day in and day out. It seems like as human beings and as a society as a whole, people are having a harder time coping with what's going on. And it seems like people now more and more are struggling with anxiety related to things that are just so far beyond our control. Like we hear all the time, right? I have people that will schedule appointments because of panic and anxiety and stress because of the government, because of what's going on in the world, the administration, the this, the that. And I have to sit and try to kind of guide these assessments, right, into a place that's more productive and question people, what about the world or the government or what's going on is within your control?
Right.
Why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you suffering in this manner for things that you cannot control,
Mhm.
right? So that's the biggest shift that I have seen is the lack of coping, both in adults and children as well.
hmm that is so true. I feel like in my generation, we were exposed to a certain amount of information and we knew that the government and all that was important, but we also knew that we did our part, when we can. And then
Mhm.
we didn't internalize it and cause it to have such a thing in our life that we can't cope or it's we're non-productive, right?
Right.
But now I feel like part of the anxiety and stressors that we have is that we have so much data in our on our hands, like literally on our phones, and it's all over the place. And let me tell you, I I hope I'm wrong. Like I hope I'm so wrong. I don't mind being wrong. Like if I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong. I think that with AI, it's going to get worse because not only that we
100%.
have so much information in the palm of our hands, but now it's like so much fake information in the palm of our hands that we don't know what's true, what's not true, what's AI, what's there's actually a software that you can ask, is this, and upload whatever you're watching to see if it's fake or not. Like that's the world that we live in right now. And so people that are trying to cope in my world is they eat.
Yes.
They eat or they just sit around. They're not
Mhm.
active or both. And so we're seeing that people are coping by, comfort foods and all kinds of
Mhm.
things that then is making them unhealthy, right? Have you seen, I don't want to say I'm sure, but do you see a lot of patients that cope with food?
All the time, emotional eating, right? In fact, I am probably seeing, because with anxiety and depression, we can see a little bit of both, right? We can see those that become so nervous that they stop eating. But these days, I'm probably seeing more cases of those that are overeating, binge eating because of severe anxiety, panic, and even depressive symptoms, right? And that is, again, for both adults and children. Actually, this past week, I started treating a young boy, 10 years old, with very, very severe ADHD, right? And what we know with ADHD, a lot of anxiety comes with it too. But with that anxiety came the constant snacking. Like mom was telling me that at school, he was eating his lunch and the friend's lunch.
Mm.
And it was that constant need to have something, to chew something, to have something in his mouth. Right. So we had
Wow.
to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that aspect too, because the my our philosophy, right, at Thrive Well Health is bridging the gap between mind and body, right? And if the body is not healthy, the body is not in sync with the mind, there's no treatment that we can give, right? Everything has to be connected in order for us to
Wow.
function our best.
That is so important, and there can be definitely a disconnect between mind and
Mhm.
body. I mean, we see that here at Icon Weight Loss where we have clients that have lost 20, 40 pounds, and you can visibly tell, right? Because they've shrank. But in here, they still see themselves large, right? And it's like that's why we have our 3D scanner because that helps clients with a visual that shows them, hey, this is what's going on. Regardless of if your mind is playing tricks on you, this
Yeah.
is going on. This is how this is your before and look at you now. And it's
Mhm.
okay to accept that you've done this for yourself. And it's okay to see yourself as a size 5 instead of a size 12. It's okay to
Mhm.
do that. I want to ask you because it was a question that I had, and I'm sure people out there are also asking, what's the difference between anxiety and stress and
Mhm.
depression? Because all of these words are used, but I didn't really know the difference between them, especially the anxiety and stress part, because it seems like it goes hand in the hand. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So definitely it can go hand in hand, right? But if we think about our lives, right? And the word stress, everyone experiences or can experience stress day in, day out, right? It's getting up at the crack of dawn, getting ready, getting the kids ready for school, right? Making it through traffic in South Florida to wherever it is that you're going, right? Or having a stressful day at work with meetings and then having to come home and make dinner and find time to decompress. Stress, right? But a lot of people can go through stress and not feel emotionally debilitated, right? And they
Hmm.
can go through the motions of a stressful day, A to B to C, and then come back home and nothing happens. They decompress, they go to sleep, and they start all over again, right?
Right.
Now, when we're talking about anxiety, now we're talking the potential for an emotional dysregulation, right? So that's the main difference between that and stress. Someone who's just stressed may not feel dysregulated in a way where it becomes debilitating, where they are overeating or they are losing sleep, right? Or they're getting panic-like symptoms, their heart's pounding, they're in constant fight or flight response, right? Or as a person who's experiencing clinical anxiety or even depression, right? Now they're experiencing debilitating symptoms that are making it hard to function in their day to day. So that's the main difference between the two.
Wow. Thank you for that. This is like real stuff that people deal with on a daily basis, and it's important to talk about it. And it's important for people to know that it's okay to ask for help. You know what I mean? I mean, I
Absolutely.
had to do that. Several years ago, I was going through a challenge in my life, and I was it was affecting me. And my choices, I always say my choices were, going to jail or going to therapy.
You made the right
Okay.
choice.
And I'm like, I'm not made for jail. And yeah, we're not doing that. So I opted in for therapy. And in my culture as a Cuban, it's like, whoa, God forbid you go to therapy, right? That's only for
Right.
weak people. And it's not the case. And I went through that. And thank God it really helped me a lot. And I just kept it going because I'm like, this is awesome. It's
Good. And that's why
awesome.
you are here today, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
With this passion. Yeah.
yeah, and in this podcast, our viewers know like I'm very transparent with all the things because I like people to know that we're real and the things that people
Yes.
go through. There's no judgment here. We just want to make sure that we can share as much information and to let people know that it's okay to ask for help, right? So if
Absolutely.
you're out there and you're experiencing these things, message us and contact us because it's okay to ask for help. So tell me about like how all of these things interfere with weight loss specifically.
Oh my goodness. Like it's all connected, right? Because now we understand more and more that a weight loss journey is not just a physical journey, right? It's not just a physical change. It's the psychological component. And like you mentioned, right? You have clients that you're seeing the change, you're showing them the change, right? In the monitors and the scales and everything that you do at Icon, but yet in their minds, they're still seeing the heavy person, right? Because there's a psychological component. And many of these people have gotten to the point where they have, right? In terms of their weight gain because of trauma as well, right? So I've seen many patients with binge eating disorders that came from an upbringing where mom was very judgmental or mom had an eating disorder herself, and there was constant judgment, constant even bullying, right, in that immediate family unit. um or if it wasn't trauma in the home per se, it was bullying outside of it, right, in school. And all that, this right here, guys, right? Our minds, this is the most fragile yet powerful part of our bodies,
So
right?
true. Yeah.
And what happens here, right? If we don't take care of it, if we're not able to filter out the noise, right? It's we're wired to think a certain way when we've been through so much, right, in our lives through trauma and whatnot. And so when they get to you, right, at Icon looking for that change, right, it's hard um, to accept, to understand that they're worthy of that love, of looking at that mirror and saying, man, I look good. I did this, I've come a long way because in a lot of ways they weren't taught that love, that nurturing and now sometimes they're not able to provide it for themselves, to give it to themselves.
Yeah.
And so
It's so true.
that's
Like
right.
a lot of like your upbringing has to do with it too. Like in my world, Cuban world,
Mhm.
if you're larger, they're like, oh, you need to go on a diet. Look how large you are. But if you're thin, then they're like, you need to eat rice and beans. Look how skinny you are. It's like it's a no-win
Yes.
situation.
Yes,
You gotta eat
absolutely.
everything that's on the plate. It's a no-win
Absolutely.
situation.
I just recently saw a video on Instagram that I actually reposted on my page as Denzel Washington giving like a commencement speech and a graduation. I think it was from a university. And he says exactly that. If you are too heavy, they're going to say, well, you need to go on a diet. If you're too skinny, they're going to say you need to eat. If you're successful, they're going to say you're cocky. If you're not successful, it's because you didn't try too hard, right? So no matter what, people are going to judge,
Yeah.
right? And that's just the world we live in, unfortunately. So we have to be able to have that confidence and self-love first and foremost in order to make it through these journeys.
Self-love. I love that.
Mhm.
So over here, when we deal with clients that we have to break through like mental things for sure.
Mhm.
But we deal with clients that have like really bad relationship with food,
Yes.
right? They cling on to especially sugar.
Mhm.
We also deal with self-sabotagers. We deal with people that have body dysmorphia.
Mhm.
Like I had one lady one time that she wanted to lose 10 pounds. It's the only bad Google review that I have. It's all 5 stars except this one person. And she wanted to lose, it was 20 pounds. And when I did her body composition analysis, she only had 37 pounds of fat in her body. Like it, it's like you don't have enough fat mass to lose.
Mhm.
So, we qualify people here and we make sure that the people are going to be healthy if they join our program. And we've said no to people
Mhm.
that they're actually not large, but they think they are, and they have that body dysmorphia. We've had people that, no matter what, they can be losing 1, 2, 3 pounds per week, and it's incredible, but it's not enough, and they self-sabotage. You
Yeah,
know, people that just like cling onto comfort foods and have like a really bad relationship with food. We see that unfortunately, but fortunately, when we see that, then we have resources to send them to get help. Because that's
absolutely.
we collaborate like somebody with like you, right, to help people break through that and push through that because in order for them to have long-term success in their health journey, they gotta deal with that.
Absolutely. And body dysmorphia is a real psychological issue, right? It calls for extensive, like deep psychotherapy, right? In order to be able to break through those thoughts. And I guarantee there's trauma behind that. I
Yes.
guarantee.
Yes. And that's why we lead with compassion here. Because we know that if somebody's sitting in front of us and they come to us with one of these things, or they come to us with high anxiety, or they're skeptical, or all these different things, we know that there's always a story behind the person, and there's always a
Absolutely.
story of why the person comes to us and they're like that. And so,
Mhm.
we don't treat people like numbers, and we don't judge people. We just know that there is a story behind it, and what can we do to help them push along, and I like to say it change the trajectory of the person's life.
I love it.
Change
Yes.
the trajectory of the person's life. And a lot of times it's not just us, it's a team of us to help this people through. as long as they allow themselves to be helped, which that's a hard thing too.
Yes, that's the other part of, you know, helping people, no matter what field you're in, right? But where you're helping people in general, can't work miracles, right? There's only so much that we can do as providers. Gotta love yourself that much to allow the help to come in, right? And unfortunately, so many, it's 2026 and a lot of people are still not there. There's still such a stigma behind, these types of care, the journey.
Mhm.
And that's, I think our mission, right, is to kind of
Yeah,
break through that and help people realize that there's so much more to life and that they're worthy of this help.
absolutely.
Hmm.
So, really quick, let's talk about new coping tools. So, you did a great presentation here at Icon, and you shared with our clients these coping tools. And it says here, food can't be your only comfort tool. Try walking, calling a friend, journaling, music or movement, deep breathing, or stepping outside. You're not removing food, you're adding other options.
Yes, yes. And that goes with what you said, right? In terms of the relationship you have with food, because I think a lot of people fall into the mentality of, I gotta restrict the bread, I gotta restrict the pasta, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, blah, 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 blah. When life is not about restriction, right? We're human beings, right? It's all about the balance, right? That so you can enjoy different things, but in a healthy manner, right? So when gosh, I can't stress this enough, right? I see patients day in and day out will complain about anxiety, binge eating, depression. And when I go into their life, right, what they do day in and day out. Oh yeah, I work from home and I sit here. Well, do you exercise? No, well, I kind of walk, here and there. Oh, or I might smoke marijuana, and then I'm like, well, so what's happening, right, in your environment, right?
Right.
So of course, the coping falls into what? The unhealthy habits, right? The eating, the marijuana, the drinking, right? So what can we do to make things healthier? Exercise is the best way to boost serotonin levels in our brain. Exercise, right? Um, One psychiatrist that I absolutely love, who's been around forever and ever, super knowledgeable, Dr. Amen, and he talks about these holistic strategies and coping mechanisms. Exercise. The man walks 7 days a week, right? So get out there, whatever it is that you can do to move your body, that will automatically change the way you view yourself and the way you feel day in and day out, right? And I also tell patients all the time, don't let your brain play tricks on you that unless you can get yourself to a gym and lift weights an hour each day, that's the only type of exercise you can do. So if you can't do that, you're not going to do anything.
Right.
Dancing in your living room when you're alone, get out there, walk your dogs, I like to go out and feed the squirrels. So I walk around the neighborhood with my husband, feeding squirrels, right? What is it that you're doing to move your body, right? Support. If you have people, you're lucky to have people that love you, call them up, have a conversation. The journaling, I talked about it when, during the presentation that day, people think like, oh my God, like dear diary, what am I going to write on this, right? But no, just simple sentences to kind of let your thoughts, put them on paper, right? So you can read through them, see what's bothering you, and then just let it go. It's a good way to kind of get it out of your mind, right? You put it down on paper and then you just let it go and you move on, right? Those are all healthy ways to kind of shift our perspective and cope a little bit better and not use food as that only coping strategy.
Mhm. And 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 we tell our clients, I wish I can do all this for you, but you got to do it for yourself. I can't do these things for
Absolutely.
you. And it starts, I think, with creating the proper boundaries in your life to give you the time to do all of these things. Because we do hear like, oh, I don't have time for that. You know, I have the kids in soccer, I have work, I have this, I have that. It's like we allow to use up our time for all of these other things, but not for ourselves. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like I had to learn to do that. I had to learn to be like, okay, I'm gonna write down my agenda of the day, and I'm gonna see those pockets of time that I'm gonna intentionally do these things that help me with the lifestyle and that I want to live, like my to help me with my why. Like my why right now, I'm a grandmother of three. I'm 50
Mm-hmm.
years old. It's pretty young for a grandma, but I
It
want to
is.
live as strong and as long as I want to because I want to be able to run around with my grandkids. That is my
Absolutely.
focus, and I want to do that in a healthy manner, like in a healthy way. I always say that people work so hard to put money in their 401k, but they don't work hard to make sure that they're doing whatever it takes, that when you can actually enjoy the money that you put in 401k. You're not going from doctor to doctor.
Exactly.
Hopefully you're going from country to country or from, whatever makes you happy, traveling, whatever it may be. So as you're putting away money for 401k for the latter years, what about your health bank?
Absolutely.
So then when your latter years come, then you can enjoy it and not just be, you know, sitting around or going from doctor to doctor, right?
Exactly.
And
Have you noticed, Martha, how many times we sit and we stress about different things, right? This problem, this and that, whatever. And then later on, when people become sick, then all of a sudden, that's their only problem. Nothing else matters,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And now that they are not healthy, that's the only problem, the only thing that they have in their mind. So why get to that place? How about focus on what is within our control, right? Right now, the present moment. People think that's so cliche and that it's reality. We must focus on this step right here in front of us, right? So that later on, we get to enjoy the retirement phase, the 401k money, the grandchildren, right?
right.
Um, so we don't get to that point of having to worry now about an illness because we didn't take care of ourselves properly when we could, right?
Yeah.
Well, we thought there were so many other stressors and problems out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This was so great. Aline, tell me when one of my clients or somebody that's watching reaches out to you, what should they expect?
Yeah, they should expect a real, a real provider, right? And I mean real by the sense of I'm gonna keep it real too, right? And some people are not ready to listen, right, to the reality of things, right? So expect someone who's transparent because I am, and I take pride in that. And because um I want to see my patients thrive and succeed and feel better,
Mhm.
right? And I feel like when a provider kind of sugarcoats everything and is not transparent, then they're just worried about the numbers. I'm not worried about the numbers. I'm worried about getting people to feel better, right?
Mhm.
And for that, I'm going to be very transparent and real. So expect that and expect to um, when you book that appointment, make sure you're ready to have a real conversation, right? And that you've gotten to that point where you want to make some changes.
I love that. And one last question. Have you seen any like rise in anxiety or anything like that with the new GLP-1 medications that are out there for weight loss?
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately. So GLP-1s are known to cause or exacerbate for those who already have a predisposition to it of depression and anxiety. I have seen firsthand patients who were doing very well on, just antidepressants in general to manage their symptoms. And then all of a sudden there is an exacerbation when they start the GLP-1. The good news is that it does tend to subside once their bodies adjust and once, the dosing gets tweaked and they progress through the program. But yes, it is one of the possible side effects to have an exacerbation in anxiety and depression.
Okay. And
Mhm.
that's important to know too, because at Icon, we do have a medical weight loss coaching program that we help coach clients through their weight loss journey through the GLP-1s. Our number one is always natural weight loss because the success rate for that is incredible.
Mhm.
But we do have some clients that do the GLP-1s. Um, Before I bring anything to Icon, I test it myself. I did the GLP-1 for about 2 weeks
Mhm.
max. And and the reason I was asking is because I found myself like weird. I felt like almost like a downer. I was like in a downer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I noticed for me, that was a side effect that I experienced on the GLP-1. And so anyways, because there's so many people out there doing it, I wanted to ask you that question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. I'm seeing it very often, so it's important for people to know. I'm not, there are so many places now, like people are getting GLP-1s through things on the companies on the phone, and I would say that if it's gonna be used, then make sure that they're using from a reputable place that will discuss these things with them.
And that they're getting proper coaching, not
Exactly.
just the drug, but proper nutritional coaching and fitness coaching. So that's a whole other
Absolutely.
topic. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for coming on
Thank you,
our
Martha.
podcast. Can you tell us how our people can get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So thrivewellhealth.net, that is our website. The website is super simple. It's self-scheduling, right? So I do take a lot of different insurances, self-pay as well. And then of course you can always reach out via telephone. I'm answering them myself. So you can text and call. Martha, you have the phone number. I don't know it by heart, but I can give it to you as well. I don't know it by heart yet, but you can call and text as well if you have any questions, and I'm able to walk you through the process as well.
And you not only treat like anxiety, depression, and those things. What are the top five things that you see clients for or patients?
Yeah, so I treat across the lifespan, right? My youngest is 8 years old right now, so that's the youngest I will go. But across the lifespan from there, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorders are also a big thing. ADHD, I would say, is one of the top also. And by the way, I treat with non-controlled substances because, I don't necessarily believe in the controlled substance world.
Mhm.
So everything I do is non-controlled. Um, and then I do see a lot of the binge eating disorders as well. And actually, binge eating disorder is probably one of the only disorders that I will treat just because when you get into anorexia and those things, that requires a deeper level of care.
Mhm.
So binge eating is one of the only eating disorders that I will treat via telemedicine like this.
And I've sent you clients that also suffer from, challenging food relationship,
Yes. Mhm.
and self-sabotaging and things like that. So
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you again. I'm so
Thank you
happy.
so
I feel like
much.
we need to do more of this because I feel like we can talk for hours. There's so much more to this topic that we need to talk about and share with the world. Um,
Absolutely.
so
I
we'll do this
love it.
again.
I really appreciate you having me here today. I can't wait to do another one.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys, thank you for watching Midlife Madness. If any of this resonates with you and you're sitting there and you're like, I need help, I understand what they're saying. I think that's me. Then reach out to us because again, this is a safe place. We talk about all the madness here, and we will help you get to the right person, such as Aline, to
Mhm.
help you change the trajectory of your life if you allow yourself to. So until next time, thanks for watching.
Thank you.